It's a quiet start to this new week, the last days of April. Sunday's the last day of April, this coming Sunday. We've got a cold and frosty night in parts of the Ohio Valley and up and down the Appalachians. But other than that, it's fairly quiet, a little bit of severe weather in Florida. But there are vicissitudes that lie ahead. Now, there's a 10.
Vicissitudes?
Yes. Now, there's a 10. There's a $10 word. I don't know why that word popped into my head. All that and more tonight on Where Else But the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which of course is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, in southwest Suffolk County on Long Island, serving the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area this spring. Landscapers or do-it-yourselfers, mulch, topsoil, sand, and more. 631-756-1125. Nowhere can you find better prices, and the website is
OmniTrueValue don't forget the .com.
And Tempest by Weatherflow, our affiliate. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Yes, on this planet, folks. And at the top of the chat board, there is a link there to take you to their page where you can take a look at the this weather station, which, by the way, is very easy to put up because I have one. And use the link there and use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show for any merchandise that you purchase. And you will get an extra 10% off. Isn't that nice?
It is.
10% off is nice.
That's right.
So here we are. It's a Monday. And it's a Monday in a blocking pattern where the days oftentimes start out bright and sunny and finish slightly differently, as it has in some places today with clouds and even some spotty showers on the radar. Satellite Joe had that sort of pixelated look to it. Hey, by the way, before I get to that, so last night with the Northern Lights, how did that go?
Not good for where I lived. It was a broken to overcast sky. I did receive reports that the aurora was visible from places like Vernon, New Jersey. Even had some pictures from there, and also New Paltz. And believe it or not, Joe, there were sightings of the aurora all the way as far south as San Diego. 10 miles north of the Mexican border, they were able to see the aurora in San Diego. Other places further north, very striking, very spectacular. But again, as I posted on my Facebook page, every time this happens, it always seems like the weather goes awry. And I always say, well, better luck next time, except when next time comes, the luck isn't better. It's as bad as, if not worse.
You would think that somewhere along the line, because broken clocks are right twice a day, unless it's a military clock, and then it's only right once a day. Anyway, my point is, you would think that at least every once in a while, you'd get a day where this stuff happens and the skies are clear. But it just seems like whenever we have meteor showers, the big meteor showers and all the other celestial events, you're always fighting tooth and nail to get a clear sky.
Well, I will tell you this, and Dennis Cassie is aware of it, is that today I made reservations for 4 different locations along the Eclipse track next year, April the 8th. I made reservations at hotels in Dallas, Texas, Little Rock, Arkansas, Syracuse, New York, and Plattsburgh, New York. And I may make a 5th reservation somewhere around Cincinnati. And
Cincinnati, yes. Clean Cincinnati. There isn't another cloud. Clean to Cincinnati.
The Queen City, as it's sometimes called. Anyway, when we get within striking distance weather-wise of being able to forecast what might happen anywhere from Texas to New England, I will cancel all the reservations except for the one place or one region that I think will have good weather, and then head there and keep my fingers crossed. Again, Dallas, any of you going to be in the Dallas area, or Little Rock, or Plattsburgh, or Syracuse, those are the four places I have down right now.
All right. I assume that you made refundable reservations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're all refundable within 48 hours of the actual dates in question. And one other thing I have to get or reserve are rental cars in Dallas and Little Rock, because the last time there was an eclipse in 2017, rental cars were as scarce as hen's teeth. And those areas that did have rental cars left, man, the prices
Why
were,
would they? Why would they not be rental cars available around? That's
well,
odd.
if you're going to see an eclipse, and if you're going to
Oh,
travel in case the weather suddenly
people were
turns,
descending on one particular town.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, I
that's
got
true.
you.
So, but that's for next year. It should be a lot of fun next year to see how this all pans out or turns out. But for the moment, at least, it looks to me, Joe, and I think you already mentioned it, that it's going to be quite cold tonight in the Ohio Valley, and it's looking more and more like we've got a real nasty, I'm not going to say a monster of a storm, but a real nasty bout of weather later on in the weekend, as we see an occluding weather front, the triple point, so to speak, developing a significant storm, which could dump a lot of rain on our area for the second half of next weekend.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised just sort of looking at some of the stuff. I was looking at the upper air pretty closely, and I took a peek at the 700 millibar too, which I like to look at when it comes to thunderstorms. I wouldn't shock me if there winds up being severe weather somewhere along that frontal boundary, and eastern PA to southern New England may be parted. I was just thinking about those cities. You said so. It was. Wait, hold on. First off, Keith James. Yeah, I know there's a car chip shortage, Keith, but I'm talking about, this was back in 2017 that Joe was talking about with all of that. Okay, so anyway, stalled front lined up from Dallas to Little Rock to Syracuse to Plattsburgh.
And it has happened, and it could happen again. I tell you, the weather for next April's eclipse is really a crapshoot. There is unlike the last eclipse, which was in August of 2017, which is a relatively good month weather-wise, or at least relative to what April provided. April, there are not one, not two, but three different storm tracks: the Alberta Clipper, the Colorado Low Track, and of course the track right along the eastern seaboard, which can produce coastal systems. And it's going to be one of those situations where it could very well be that much of the eclipse track will be under clouds, or sometimes, and this has also happened, nice big dome of high pressure has descended out of Canada and has provided much of the zone for the eclipse with clear skies, albeit chilly temperature. So it's going to be, as I said, it's going to be a crapshoot. The odds are, climatologically, for clear skies, let's say in Texas and Arkansas, 50-50, and it drops to like 1 in 3 when you get to upstate New York and northern New England. So we'll see what happens. If you want to see this event and you want clear skies, to go for the win, go to Mazatlan, Mexico, where Mexico is in a zone where the weather, it's the dry season in Mexico. In fact, it's the final month of the dry season in Mexico. And in all likelihood, they will have good weather. But for the United States, a very tempestuous, changeable, highly changeable type of weather pattern in April. And we'll see what happens next year.
By the way, the Northern Lights are done now. There's not going to be anything you'll be able to see tonight. I think Johnny Quest has been asking that question.
It's long. They're down. But you know what? This is a very active solar cycle. We had a shot at seeing Northern Lights about a month ago. Then we had this particular scenario and the peak of sunspot activities in 2025. So there will be more chances and more chances for me to get rained on or clouded on in the days, weeks, and months to come.
Hey, welcome everybody on the chat board tonight. Welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background on the watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is on Monday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m., Sundays at 11 a.m. We're off on Fridays and Saturdays unless there's a storm running around. So subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on, so this way you never miss an opportunity. Although I will tell you, I'll just let everybody know, when it comes to YouTube, sending out notifications for any show that's on, it's sort of hit or miss. I mean, sometimes you'll get them before the show starts, or if you're like me, I wind up, because I always turn my notification on since I'm subscribed to my own channel, so which should be the smart thing to do. But I have my notifications on for whenever we do a show or whenever I put up a video, which is twice a day. Oftentimes I don't get the notification till the next day. I'll get a notification tomorrow morning or at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll wake up, and when I wake up, I'll see that there was a notification from YouTube at 4 a.m. that, and now watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show. So that's definitely a YouTube issue, just so you know. And by the way, I should also just to give everybody a heads up, because I don't know that everybody does this, but when you go to my YouTube channel and you hit the community button, I post in there. I put weather posts up in there. And they pretty much give you a primer or a primer, however you want to pronounce it, for the upcoming show for later in the day. I usually do it in the morning. Sometimes I'll put other stuff up during the day when the weather is active. So if you haven't gone to the community section on my YouTube channel page, Joe Cioffi Weather, do it. This way, you can get other weather stuff. Plus, I do weather in a minute, and I do weather in 5 every day as well. So those videos are usually up in the morning. Okay, enough.
Little does anybody know that Joe also does at 1 o'clock in the morning. He has what he calls his meteorological marathon
at 1 a.m.
where he does the weather spread out over 4 hours from 1 to 5 a.m.
The only thing I'm spread out on is my mattress from 1 to 5 a.m.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Let's take a look here. Just a check of the watches and warnings map, because we've been so used to seeing it pretty much spray painted with winter storm warnings out in the west for who knows how many weeks in a row it was. And I mean, we still actually do have a peppering of them in parts of Colorado and also in parts of Wyoming. But these are, this is small compared to what we've had. And actually not much in the way of putting up these flood advisories for melting snows. We don't see too much of that. We do have flood watches up for the Sierra Nevadas in California, because they got a lot of snow melt to get through before it's all said and done. Meanwhile, most of the weather is quiet in the east, save for some frost advisories and freeze warnings that are up from southeastern Michigan, east to Pennsylvania, and then southward down the Appalachians to western North Carolina. I do not have a freeze or freeze warning or frost advisory up for me in Northeast Georgia, but I'm still going to take my carnivorous plants, which I put outside. I'm going to bring them in again tonight, because I don't want them to, I don't want them to die. I've grown them quite successfully in the last year and a half, so I want to keep on doing it. We did have, let's see if it's still there. I'll give it a refresh here just to check. Yeah, we still have severe thunderstorm watches up for much of central and southern Florida. It's mostly the East Coast where we're seeing the action. There are no watches up along the west coast of Florida. And as we take a look at the latest satellite loop, you can see there's a lot of lightning strikes going on in southeastern Florida, probably in and around the Fort Lauderdale area. We'll take a look at that, just see what's going on. Meanwhile, Joe, a lot of, as I said earlier, and here's a tight view of the loop, just sort of a pixelated look with queue developing across Pennsylvania and New York State and kind of sneaking into inland areas, not so much at the coast, but it was that kind of a day, and that kind of an air mass, a cold Canadian air mass, and something you'd see oftentimes in the winter months, but we didn't get to see it too often this winter because we didn't have too many upper lows sitting just to our north.
Yeah, well, that was the thing that did us in this past winter season. In fact, I saw something from Dr. Judith Cohen, and he says that the the polar vortex is still having an effect on parts of the United States. He says in Boston, for example, there have been two seasons. There have been November and summer.
Yeah, that's true. That pretty much does sum it up. There is some activity going on the radar, so we should just take a look at that. And a lot of scattered showers across Pennsylvania and upstate New York. I would guess most of this is on the light side. Also up in northern New York. And that goes all the way back to the Great Lakes and over into Wisconsin. Just sort of a messy looking radar view here across the Great Lakes and Northeast.
Yeah.
Well, say something.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. There you are. Okay. So what was the question?
There was no question. I'm just pointing out what a messy radar it is.
Well, yeah, it is. Actually, you wouldn't expect. We had such a fairly nice day, beautiful day for the most part here. Every once in a while, it got kind of cloudy during the midday and afternoon, but still dry. And you wouldn't anticipate that when you look at the radar. You probably would say to yourself, "My goodness, the whole Northeast was probably underneath a thick cloak of clouds," but that really wasn't the case.
Yeah. Oftentimes, at the coast anyway, you wind up seeing the clouds just kind of walled back to the west and north. But I thought that was what would have happened today overall. But I guess it just it happened a bit more, say, well north and west, rather than right along the coastal areas. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what's going on down in Florida, because we do have some showers and thunderstorms and a few severe thunderstorm warnings. Looks like most of them are, everybody's been sort of focusing on Fort Lauderdale and Miami, Fort Lauderdale with the big rains that they had recently.
Now, they don't need more rain.
No, it looks like most of those storms are north of them. And they also seem to be moving slightly north of due east. So unless something develops right overhead, and there are a couple of showers, to their west, but nothing that really seems overly threatening at this moment anyway, which is 7:52 p.m. Eastern time. But you can see there are a couple of three severe thunderstorm warnings. Well, one pops up and then disappears, leaving us with two. And then there's a special marine warning that's sitting out in the ocean. Mostly isolated severe thunderstorms here that have developed inside this patch that extends up into southern Georgia. Meanwhile, up my way here in northeast Georgia, it was a cloud-free day from start to finish. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine. It was 30. What was it when I woke up this morning? I think it was 36, and I got to 62, which was nice. And we've got some rain and snow in parts of Montana, into Idaho, and also into parts of Colorado scattered around. Some precip down into New Mexico and northern Arizona, but nothing really crazy. The Storm Prediction Center with a slight risk tonight in central and south Florida. And that, by the way, comes with a 2% tornado risk. Now, with the way the weather pattern is setting up this week, it's really going to be more to the south. We're not going to see storms lifting up into the plains. We're not going to see storms, severe weather that's been common in the middle and upper Mississippi Valley. This time around, it's going to be much further to the south. So you see where the slight risk is in central, and the slight marginal risk in central and east Texas. And tomorrow that comes with a 2 to 5% tornado risk. And then as we look on to Wednesday, it's shifting a little bit further to the east, but not much. It actually shifts a little bit more north and east. where we have a slight risk in north central Texas to northwest Louisiana and a teeny portion of southwestern Arkansas, the marginal risk surrounding that, and also a marginal risk in central and southern Florida. And days 4 through 8, so day 4 is Thursday into Friday, Friday into Saturday is day 5, day 6 is Saturday into Sunday. Now 4 and 5, we have predictability too low. Day 6, the potential's too low. See, now I'm going to already disagree with this. So they've got, this is for Sunday into Monday. They have potential too low. Okay. And I am going to disagree with that. I would say predictability is too low, but I don't think the potential for Sunday with with the weather system that looks to set up in the east, I wouldn't say that the potential is too low.
Maybe they're saying that because they're thinking that the winds are going to be onshore. It is, after all, going to be a situation where a storm and an associated front will be pushing into a large high that's located over eastern Canada and northern New England. So the gradient is going to tighten up, and the gradient seems to indicate that we're going to be seeing onshore winds from the east or maybe east-southeast, and maybe they're thinking that because of the cool onshore flow, that would negate any kind of significant thunderstorm activity. But of course, in a situation like this, you're going to also have a lot of vertical lift, and if there's a lot of lifting, there could very well be convection, at least in the form of low top thunderstorm activity. And, you know, Joe, we're talking about 6 days out.
No, I understand, but I'm just. It could wind up being like it was for when was it? Was it Saturday into Saturday night into Sunday morning? It could wind up being a day like that.
Yeah, it could.
Set up like that, where you had a decent short wave that moved that lifted up and around. You had a lot of low top thunderstorms, and there were quite a few severe thunderstorms that came out of that. Now, no situation, obviously, no two situations are exactly the same. And I agree with you. There is going to be a bit more of an onshore flow, particularly setting up ahead of it Friday and Saturday. So I wonder whether on Sunday, I was looking at some of the latest, some of the guidance, depending on which, what you looked at. The isobars turned more southerly on Sunday. So I don't know if that, that kind of was how it was on Saturday. But like you were about to say, we're 6 days away from this.
Yeah, from this vantage point, it does look rather impressive, and it does look like we could be in line for a very hefty amount of rainfall. Whether or not that any kind of convection, any kind of thunderstorm activity gets involved, and whether or not it might be severe. By the way, my eyes opened wide when I heard that the Sullivan County tornado, which was ranked as an EF2, started near the town of Jeffersonville. And the reason why my eyes opened wide is that back in 1976, I went up to Jeffersonville to photograph and observe a brilliant comet by the name of Comet West from Sullivan County Community College, which is right there, right where Jeffersonville is. So I was actually able to, I'm thinking back now to 1976, but I was actually able to make a mental picture trying to imagine a tornado, which supposedly was very wide. It was something like, I don't know, like they said it was something like the size of 2 or 3 school football fields. I mean, a very, very large scale storm. And I was up there, and I remember very well in that area, and seeing the damage that thing caused in that part of Sullivan County is just absolutely amazing. But again, it was an EF2, so you don't think you're not thinking about Sullivan County, New York, tornadoes, EF2, month of April. That just doesn't fall into the climatological reality of things. But they had it, and yeah, Joe, you're right. What we're looking at for next weekend, for next Saturday and Saturday night, Sunday, is not too far different from what we saw over this past weekend. So who's to say? Who's to know? Yeah.
Well, maybe SPC is listening attentively to our discussion here, and perhaps tomorrow when we have the show, it'll go to predictability too low.
Well, I think what's going to happen, and we've always said this, is that um, SPC, for all the good work that they do, sometimes in certain situations they always run or fall behind,
And that's totally acceptable.
and sometimes, and
and that's totally acceptable.
we get to Wednesday or Thursday, we'll start seeing, indications of maybe general thunderstorm activity being predicted for the Northeast. Maybe by Friday, they'll actually start talking about maybe a marginal risk. I don't know, but all I can say is it does look very interesting for next weekend, especially from about Saturday night on into Sunday.
Well, WPC, the weather prediction folks, which we also know watch our show religiously, they have it up on the. They're watching it right now. I'm sure of it. They actually really went pretty hog wild with rainfall amounts for much of New England, much of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic states. The darker purple is 2 inches. And then the first red is 2.5 inches. The second level red that you see in Virginia, that's 3 inches. So, and there's not going to be that much although I want to be a little careful, because at least when you get down into Virginia and point southward, there is this lead system that's coming out Thursday, Friday, and they're going to get into some of that rain. So, there's for them, it's 2 systems involved, but for places further north, it's just the 1 system for Sunday. So that's fairly impressive with what they're doing, and very wet throughout much of the eastern half of the United States. Also wet across Oklahoma and southern Kansas and back into southwest Kansas. And a lot of this area has been fairly dry for a long time. Also back through parts of Arkansas. The west, for a change, is on the quiet side. And Leon Probitsky is the first tonight to hit the tip jar. Thank you, Leon. Here's the European, by the way. This is the European rainfall forecast. This covers everything. So I went and pulled up the cumulative precip through 186 hours, which is early Tuesday morning. So this counts. In some of the places in the east, we're talking 2 systems. Other places, just 1. But the European is very bullish with rainfall amounts. The shaded areas that they're showing there in the purple colors are all 3 inches or more. And there's a patch there that they have in northern New Jersey, northeast PA, up the Hudson Valley of 3 inches plus, and also across Virginia and northern North Carolina, back into northern Georgia and across northern Alabama, Mississippi, back through Arkansas and Oklahoma. So the European is very bullish on rainfall. The GFS is, and the reason why, because the European wants to bring rain up the coast with both systems. The GFS only wants to do the second one and suppresses the first. So the GFS has about half of what the European has, or at least it did at 12Z. Let me just see what it did at 18Z. It gave a little bit more at 18Z. So it's gotten a little more robust. Not quite as robust as the European, but I think either way, both of them say, if you want to split the difference between the two, or even if you want to lean to the lower one, it still says a sizable amount of rain could come out of this.
Yeah, and the upper low after the actual surface system or systems move on through late Saturday into Sunday, the upper low is going to take the better part of next week to completely get out of the way, to get out of our area. In fact, they have the center of the upper low directly over New York State and western New England for 12Z next Thursday.
Yeah, I got it up on the screen. Here's I'm just going to roll back. So if you look here, this is a Thursday morning. So you've got this shortwave right here, this lead shortwave. Come on. Why is it not letting me draw with my finger? It's supposed to let me draw. There we go. I'll use the pencil. But this first short wave kind of goes out to the east, at least according to the GFS. And then you've got this stronger short wave that is dropping down, an upper low that's dropping down from Canada, and you see it there, dropping through Nebraska and Kansas, and just really closes off like an animal there in southern Missouri. And then there's yet another upper low on Sunday that drops down into Minnesota and the Western Lakes, and then that whole thing just goes negative tilt and lifts up. See, this is why I'm thinking that maybe we could see a decent, certainly when I say decent, I mean, let me change that word, a sizable amount of rain, is that you do have a good, again, let me change that word, a solid shortwave. And then you have this other one that's sort of right behind it. They're both playing parts of this in this play, and that whole trough just goes negative. And then there's actually even another trough that comes through later Monday or Monday night. Now I don't know if there probably won't be much to work on, but it does suggest that you get what you get with the main system, and then there's probably some kind of secondary front behind it that maybe brings another round of showers, maybe even a low-top thunderstorm come next Monday. So this is a pretty impressive system that we're dealing with. And you're right. Here it is on Wednesday. We're going into Thursday. The upper low is still sitting north of New York State on this run, Joe. It doesn't even get out of the way until Sunday. I mean, it starts to pull out on Saturday, but we're still under the influence of it. It's not until Sunday, May 7th, that it's far enough east where we could actually, warm things up a little bit.
You think? I noticed that on the European, that the thicknesses here for next Thursday across eastern New York and western New England are like in the 534 to 540 category.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Grapple?
Yeah.
Talk about 6 or 7 days in advance. You want to talk about grapple? Yeah, here it is. This is actually for all of next week. I'm just looking at this. So let's see. Frank Scalera just hit the tip jar. Thank you, Frank. So here's the Europeans' view. And you see the Europeans got this lead low on let me just back it up a little bit more. Come on. There you go. Here's the lead low. This comes out on Thursday. You got all this, all the moisture flow is right along the southern, right across the deep south. So you've got this lead low on Friday now see, this is where the European and the GFS differ, because the GFS wants to kick that out to the east, whereas the European kicks this low up into Kentucky and actually brings rain up the coast Friday night and Saturday. And then, of course, you have the second energy with a low up Lake Superior, another low down in Mississippi. And, the gradient on the European gets really tight here on Sunday. So you get showery rains on Sunday, and then heavy rain and thunderstorms Sunday night into early Monday morning. And then that goes by. And then you get this upper trough that's supposed to come through, but it doesn't look like there's, much with it, because, so much is going on later Sunday and Sunday night. There's probably not a whole lot left for that that next short wave that's right behind it to work on. But again, you got the cyclonic flow for the first part of next week. Yeah, look at that. It's a 540 thickness, 534. This is for Wednesday night into Thursday. Why not?
I did, as far as this coming Sunday's event, I call it the crowbar effect, where you have the disturbance literally acting like a atmospheric crowbar and trying to pry out that big high that's over eastern Canada. And of course, that's why we have all of the isobars scrunched together, and that's why we'll have a very significant pressure gradient, which probably means that we're going to have a lot of gusty winds, be it from the southeast or maybe from the east-southeast on Sunday, which is why, again, going back to the original discussion, maybe that's why SPC doesn't have anything for thunderstorm activity yet, because they're thinking that it might be just too chilly. But then again, there's going to be a lot of dynamic activity, a lot of lift, and that could very well lead to low top convection for Sunday. So
Yeah.
I again, kicking off the start of the show, the one thing that impresses me, just taking a cursory glance of what we're going to be looking at over the next 7 days, is a very nasty, very robust type of weather situation for, again, the middle and latter part of this upcoming weekend.
I'm going to just bring up the upper air here. Come on. Let's go. Upper air. Let's bring the upper air here. Look at, I mean, where was this in the winter time? For God's sake. I mean, really? You know,
And there you go.
seriously. You just look at this and you just want to shake your head and then bang it against a wall or some sort of sharp object. I mean, this is just preposterous.
If weather maps or upper air systems could talk, you'd see the trough in the east and say, "Hey, sorry I'm late."
Yeah, either that or it's just sticking its tongue out at. I mean, in the better part of I don't even remember the last time that there was a ridge up the West Coast, and I'm not talking about just weeks. I'm talking about months and months where there's been absolutely not anything resembling a ridge in the western part of the United States, and that all of a sudden we've got one. You know, this is at the end of this week. You've got a really nice pumped up ridge in the west, which causes this deep trough. And by the way, just for everybody's edification here, those of you who are just huge fans of the NAO, of the North Atlantic Oscillation and the NAO, this is a perfect example of if we had this set up in the wintertime, we would still get rain out of this because the trough's in the wrong position. The trough axis is at 90. So we would be sitting with a negative NAO, a positive Pacific North America index, a positive PNA, but it wouldn't do us much of any good because the trough is in the wrong position. It's at 90. It's already sharp and going negative at 90 west. So maybe if this were a wintertime event, we'd have snow at the start that would change over to heavy rain. That's probably the best that we would be able to get out of this. So before everybody gets too depressed, I'm just giving you a little bit of reprieve here on what this would have turned to look like if this were in January or February or even
Amazing.
March.
Amazing. But that's the way things go sometimes, right? But you know what? It probably will mean now that we'll have unseasonably cool or chilly air. The pattern will be like this from May on into June. People start, being and moaning about the fact, oh, it's much too chilly, and all of a sudden, everything will flip again, and like somebody flicking a switch,
Right.
July and August will be hot, hazy, steamy, and humid.
And Frank Scalera says I remember that I said or you said or maybe we both said it late January or early February that we were going to have a block sometime in late April and May, and of course it hits. But you know what? There's not a whole lot of skill in predicting blocks in the springtime because this happens almost every year. This is just like hurricanes are nature's way of redistributing heat in the atmosphere. The breakdown of the wintertime patterns, there's still cold air left over up in Canada and up in the Arctic, and that has to be dispersed. And that's what the atmosphere is doing right now. And it does it as everything is starting to break down and jet stream flows are slowly beginning to weaken over the long haul. They don't look weak on the weather pattern that we're showing for this week and going into next week. But the point is, this is almost a yearly occurrence. It happens all the time. And I just get such a kick out of the fact that everybody, just as if, this is something new. I mean, this has always been the case in the spring, particularly in the Northeast. It's a horrible time of year. It's the worst time of year. It's the toughest time of year to forecast. And I don't think you'll disagree with me on that one, Joe.
No, and that's why I'm not looking forward to next year and trying to forecast what will happen with the eclipse, because I'd have to say, if there was any month of the year where it is very difficult, if not sometimes almost impossible to forecast, it would be April for the very reasons that you just mentioned. By the way, if you want to give me sharing capabilities, I want to show you something.
Sure. Shall I? Surely.
Surely, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to show all of you folks. This is from Climate Prediction Center, and I want to first show you the the 6 to 10 day outlook for April 30th through May the 4th. Doesn't this look lovely, right? Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're right here in the Ohio Valley, an 80 to 90% chance of below normal temperatures, or probability of below normal temperatures in this region. And if you want to take a look at the precipitation for this same time frame for no, wait a minute, that's 8 to 14. I want to show you 6 to 10. Whoops. There you go. Look at that. While all this is happening, while this mass of cold air is over the Ohio Valley, look at what they have here in the Northeast, above normal precipitation value or precipitation probabilities. And in fact, let's just quickly check the hazards. Look at this, Joe. You wouldn't expect to see this in early May, right? But look at this. A slight chance of hazardous temperature below normal temperatures encompassing this wide zone here, and a moderate risk of hazardous or colder than normal temperatures in this region encompassing the Tennessee and part of the Ohio River Valley. That's for just temperatures. And if you want to look at precipitation, well, they don't have. See, now that doesn't make any sense to me. They have above normal precipitation in this area. You would think that there'd be a risk of heavy precipitation in the Northeast, but they don't have any.
Well, that was what were the dates on that last map? I can't, from May 2nd. So that's actually from that's after the Sunday system goes by.
May 2nd through May the 8th.
Yeah.
So that other map goes for the period before May the 2nd, I guess.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. So the Sunday system is not in that last map you showed.
What is going on here? Why am I having so much trouble all of a sudden? There you go. Yeah. So I guess that above normal precip takes into account the system that comes in for Sunday.
Gotcha.
So.
All right. Well, we got that all figured out. Did you just get up off your chair?
Yes, for the moment. I just had to go and dump something in the garbage.
Okay. I'm glad you I'm glad you finished that sentence and didn't pause at dump.
No. I'm back. See?
Okay, good.
That dump didn't take too long.
Lovely. I parked myself underneath you, by the way, just so you know.
Oh. Uh-oh. 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. Take a look at this. Below normal, still, right up until the 8th of May. And in terms of, now, yeah, this is why they didn't have anything on the hazards map, which starts on May the 2nd, because as you can see here, from May the 2nd through the 8th, they actually have below normal parameters for precipitation probability. So it does get drier after that storm that we managed to go through the end of the weekend into the start of next week.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We will have our own forecast challenges to deal with in the coming days.
Yes.
All right. I'm just trying to think, as the chairman, Scott Briller, is taking some time off, so we don't have a Briller Jeopardy tonight, or at least.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay. Then he sent it to you. I take it back. He has Briller Jeopardy. Okay. Very good.
Yes.
All right. You have it.
All right.
So let's
play
Briller Jeopardy.
Let's play Briller.
I got to get that. I got to see if I can get that sponsored.
It might be worthwhile. It's a very popular part of our nightly presentation.
Right,
anyway,
let me see what I can do
on this Briller Jeopardy. What is the latest date of measurable snowfall for the following cities. Just the date.
Okay, measurable snowfall, not
Measurable,
not trace.
not trace.
0.1 or more.
Right.
Okay.
And the first one is Burlington, Vermont. I will give you the amount.
Oh
I will
my.
tell you that this is 0.3 inches of snow. How late in the season did Burlington get that?
You know, that's up. You know that's up in northern New England. That I will say. I'm gonna take a stab at this. I'll just take a guess. I'm gonna just say May 30th.
Nah, that's it's in May, but it's a little bit too deep
Too
into
deep
May.
into May. Okay, I'm glad I
Yes.
didn't go to June then. Let's see. Northern Grace is May question mark. Chuck Cardillo May 8th. Rich Rothmansky says May 28th. Frank Riccio said May 23rd.
But Paul Roman or Roman. Is it Roman or Roman?
I don't know. I've been saying Roman, and maybe it's Roman.
Well, whatever.
Either way.
Paul had it at May 12th. And yes, in Burlington, Vermont, 0.3 inches fell on May 12th, 1996. Not too long ago, really.
Okay.
All right. So here now, the next one is Buffalo. And they had all of 0.1 inches fall in Buffalo.
I'll say May 9th.
And Paul Roman says it's Roman like the empire.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for clearing that up. So what did you say? May
9th.
What? May 9th. Well, this time you should have gone deeper into the month of May.
Tyler Fenga says May 21st. Rich Rothmansky, May 20th. Anthony Sparaccio, May 15th.
Rich Rothmansky, you hit it. May 20th. 0.1 inch of snow in Buffalo on May 20th, way back in 1907. Were there people living in Buffalo then? I guess there were. They made a notation of that.
Okay, well, that's good. It's good to know that it was occupied.
Okay. Now, the next one is the home of the Raccoon National Cemetery, Bismarck, North Dakota. And I'll tell you what, this is more than just a couple of tenths of an inch of snow. Unless Scott forgot to put the dot before the actual value, Bismarck, 4 inches, the last measurable snowfall. How late or early I'll tell you, it was in the month of May.
I'll say May 28th.
Ooh.
Close?
Close.
All right. May 25th says Tom Contino. So everybody's been saying Tyler Fenga, May 31st. William Uber, May 22nd. Coin Pig, May 19th. Paul Roman, May 30th.
And woohoo for Northern Grace, who hit it May 26th, 1932.
Wow.
91 years ago.
Okay.
All right. We have 2 more left. We have Chicago. And they had 0.2 inches back when? What's the late date for that?
I will say April 29th.
No, believe it or not, Joe, it's yet another one in
Another
May.
May Day? All right.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny Quest is May 12th. Tyler Fenga, May 19th. Frank Riccio, May 11th. Coin Pig, May 14th. Rich Rothmansky, May 13th. May 15th for Maggie P. May 2nd for Frank Scalera.
Frank Riccio got it, though.
And what did May 11th?
May 11th. May 11th, 1966.
And so did Northern Grace, hitting with May 11th.
Oh, she got two out of the first 4 here. Congratulations to Northern Grace. All right, last one. Denver, Colorado, 0.5 inches, a half an inch of snow.
Oh, it's so weird out there. I'll say June 3rd.
Wow. Wow. It's not right, but
That's
wow,
close.
it close.
June,
It was close.
June 2nd for Tyler Fenger. June 4th for Chuck Cardillo. June 7th for Johnny Quest.
You're all dancing around
June
the date.
5th, Frank Riccio.
Frank Riccio again. Riccio, Mr. Riccio again. June 5th, 1953, they had half an inch of snow in Denver, Colorado.
I'd be curious as to what the temperature was the day before and the day after.
Oh, you know what it was. Day before was probably 94.
Right, and the day after was probably 85.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because that's...
And Briller Jeopardy will continue, according to Scott, to take breaks to take care of Mother Briller, but we thank you very much for your participation.
Yes. Okay, so I think we can wrap it up. And we'll be back tomorrow night at the usual shopping time, 7:35 p.m. Eastern. Hope everybody had fun tonight. Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by our affiliate, Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link to purchase one is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video for those of you who are not watching the show live. And you can also get 10% off on any weather merchandise that you choose to purchase by using the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show. And also brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. So on that note, good night, Mr. Rayo. Good night, everybody.
And thank you very much to Leon Robitsky and Frank Scalera for hitting the tip jar tonight.
See you all tomorrow.
Bye.